Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this CAP seminar. We are delighted to have so many participants, and I think that speaks to the reputation and effectiveness of CAP and CAPs all across the country. It is perhaps just one of the few silver linings of COVID that we've all become adept at the use of video conferencing technology, without which I have no doubt we would not be able to have as many people join in this webinar today. This is all about sharing best practice, but I should say first of all that CAP already is best practice. The statistics of success, about which you'll hear more later, more than attest to that. But CAP is an unusual organism. It's not a structured hierarchical organization, but it's a living, evolving organism. Groups of people up and down the country are committed to the goal of further reducing the harm caused by underage alcohol consumption. Each of the groups or local partnerships addresses its own problems using solutions that are developed by others and some that are developed themselves locally for their particular needs. And those innovations are shared, making best practice better and more effective. So today is very much about that sharing, which is the essence of these local partnerships and of the broader national partnerships. So a reminder that this is still necessary. We have made great progress in recent years in reducing underage drinking, but there's still a significant presence, and it's causing harm both to children and to sharing and to local communities. So I'd like to thank you, all of you, both from those from existing CAPs and welcome those who may be considering forming a CAP in your own area. I very much hope you will find today stimulating and that you can take away the experience of others, which will prove valuable to you and what you're trying to do. And I hope you'll find it enjoyable as well. So I'm going to hand back at this point to Kate Winstanley, who will be your host for the rest of the session, but simply to say thank you for being here, enjoy it, and I hope you get a lot of value from it.
Thank you very much, Derek, for that introduction. I'd like to now welcome to our virtual stage our keynote speaker, Joy Allen. Joy was elected as Police and Crime Commissioner for Durham in May and is also joint lead for alcohol and substance misuse for the Association of Police and Crime Commissioners. Before her election, Joy was Mayor of Bishop Auckland and has served as both a councillor and a cabinet member for Durham County Council, as well as coordinating our Bishop Auckland CAP. Gives me great pleasure to introduce Joy Allen.
Thank you very much, and I'm delighted to be here today to talk about community alcohol partnerships, or CAPs. Alcohol partnerships in County Durham have been operating since the scheme was piloted in Stanley in 2011 and Peterlee the following year. On the basis of positive evaluations of both schemes at the time, a wide range of partners came together and agreed to roll out similar schemes across the county. We wanted to promote a positive alcohol harm reduction culture where young people under the age of 18 choose not to drink, where access to alcohol is restricted, and the immediate short-term and long-term impacts of alcohol consumption in young people are understood. The evaluations of the pilot of CAPs in Stanley and Peterlee showed some great outcomes at the time. A decline in the number of seizures of alcohol in place where vulnerable people tended to gather, and a marked reduction in antisocial behaviour. The number and frequency of attempted underage and proxy purchases went down, and the demand for youth services increased. In 2017, I was really proud to be appointed to chair the Bishop Auckland Alcohol Harm Reduction Partnership, particularly as I'm passionate about tackling alcohol harm amongst young people. And I believe that organisations like CAP help to make our community safer, stronger and more resilient. One of my main aims as chair was to encourage partners from the public, private and voluntary sectors to get actively involved to address both the harms that are associated with underage drinking, but also the street drinking and antisocial behaviour that can have such a detrimental effect on our neighbourhoods and the fear of crime. We all felt it was really important to take a long-term preventative approach that aims to ensure young people have the skills and knowledge to make the right decisions about the whole range of issues, from alcohol, drugs, antisocial behaviour to knife crime, gang culture and county lines. This is where local alcohol harm reduction partnerships excel. They are really good at nurturing and building unique and transformative local partnerships. These invariably contain a much wider range of partners than are common in multi-agency work, and importantly include retailers and schools as well as the police. By working together with shared objectives and with everyone in the partnership having a valued role in delivering against a common action plan, mutual trust and respect have ended the practice of working in silos and really created some great synergies. That's why community alcohol partnerships are so unique and successful. It brings together everyone in the community to tackle these issues, from the police to retailers, local councils, schools, health providers and community groups, all of us working together to reduce alcohol harm amongst young people, to improve their health and well-being and enhance community safety. In practice, this means working with youth services and local organisations to provide alcohol-free activities for young people, with local schools to take proactive approach to alcohol education and local retailers to help them avoid making underage sales and reduce proxy sales where adults attempt to buy alcohol for under 18s. Today marks the start of Alcohol Awareness Week, and CAPs around the country are working hard to raise awareness of the dangers of misusing alcohol and the harms it can cause. Underage drinking is associated with antisocial behaviour, crime, poor school performance and unwanted pregnancy. Children who start to drink early are more likely to become frequent and binge drinkers, to experience low achievement and poor employment prospects and lower than average quality of life, including alcohol-related illness and dependence in middle life. Young people who drink excessively are more likely to suffer from poor mental health, self-harm and even attempt suicide. During puberty, young people have an increased tendency to take risks. Adding alcohol to the mix can put them in dangerous situations, making them more vulnerable to being a victim of crime, including sexual assault. Young people who drink have less control, and their brains struggle to recognise the warning signs, which can lead to antisocial behaviour, aggression and fights. They are more likely to become involved in violence and vandalism, which could lead to arrest and a criminal record. As we know that the adverse impacts of underage drinking are particularly acute in socially deprived areas. This doesn't just blight young people's lives, it places a really heavy burden on policing and the public purse. Community alcohol partnerships are a cost-effective way to reduce the burden of harm caused by underage drinking. Public Health England tells us that early drug and alcohol interventions for young people work and can save money, a potential of £5 to £8 for every £1 invested. Every area has its unique problems and issues with underage drinking, and one of the joys that CAP is, it provides a flexible framework that can be adjusted to meet local needs, identify local problems, and design and manage local action plans. In Bishop Auckland, for example, we encourage public health and the police to be a full part of the partnership, and collectively we did a great deal of work to strengthen relationships with retailers, working with supermarkets to highlight the extensive choice of low and no alcohol drinks, and distributing leaflets and spraying chalk paint messages outside store entrances to warn about the penalties for buying alcohol and under 18s. I think this is a great opportunity today to share best practice like this, and I really look forward to hearing what other CAPs in other areas have been doing throughout the afternoon. Thank you.
That was a really all-encompassing and insightful speech. And we're really grateful to you for your experience on the ground in sort of being involved. So thank you so much for that. Our next speaker needs no introduction for many of you. Alan Simpson is our longest serving CAP regional advisor, supporting CAPs across the North East, the East Midlands, and until recently, Scotland too. In his almost 10 years working for CAP, Alan has launched over 80 CAPs and has a wealth of experience. So over to you, Alan.
Hello to everyone in this seminar. I joined Community Alcohol Partnerships, or CAP, approximately 10 years ago, after serving 32 years within South Yorkshire Police. As an inspector, I coordinated my own CAPs across Barnsley, in areas previously dominated by the mining industry. In 14 years, CAP has launched over 220 projects in 44 local authorities, reaching over 2,000 retail outlets and 250 schools and youth settings. Before I start this presentation, can I remind you what the Chief Medical Officers advise in relation to children drinking? They basically say that children shouldn't drink before they reach the age of 15, and then between 15 and 17. They should only drink under the guidance of parent or carer and in a supervised environment. It's illegal for under 18s to purchase alcohol and for an adult to purchase on behalf of a minor. It's also illegal for retailers to sell alcohol to those under 18. So with this in mind, let's start the presentation. We provide a robust evaluation framework which all CAPs must use. Prior to the launch of each of our CAPs, the local partners survey young people, residents and off-licenses. These surveys capture a wide range of useful baseline statistics, but more specifically for young people, they identify where weak areas of knowledge about the dangers of alcohol misuse lie. From the residents and retail surveys, they provide intelligence about underage drinking, which form a major strand of work within the bespoke action plan for the area. Looking at before and after surveys across all CAPs, we found an average of 61% average reduction in weekly drinking for 13 to 16-year-olds. 99% of retailers passed Challenge 25 compliancy testing for alcohol sales. 86% of retailers did not sell when it was suspected it was a proxy sale. 50% reduction in young people hanging around asking adults to buy alcohol for them, and 42% reduction in antisocial behaviour. I hope you'll agree that these demonstrate significant impact. What makes CAPs so successful is that we enable and empower local communities to create strong partnerships that identify the local problems of underage and young adult drinking and help them design and manage their own action plans. These are typical objectives that we suggest to partners in the planning stage of a CAP. You will see that they encompass the issues of underage drinking and purchasing, proxy purchasing of alcohol, reduction of antisocial behaviour, the need for retailers to demonstrate due diligence, and the promotion of health and well-being of young people. Local objectives are also encouraged, such as those connected with child criminal exploitation, child sexual exploitation, drink driving and domestic violence, with a focus on its impact on children in the family. I'm now going to show you some examples of our three main areas of work: alcohol education, positive activities for young people, and working with retailers. Starting with alcohol education, I'll first look at our work with younger age groups and how that changes with older age groups. In the Reading CAP, the Mini Police Project is a fun and interactive volunteering project for children in years 5 and 6, involving them in the work of neighbourhood policing teams on local issues. Focus sessions were designed to provide age-appropriate awareness of alcohol, including risks, health impacts, and associated laws. The Bulk Ward estate lies in our Lancaster CAP. It is one of the most deprived areas in the northwest of England, where underage drinking has been a long-standing issue. Lancaster CAP works closely with the community to change attitudes and behaviour. CAP activity is focused on the younger age group, 10 to 13s, as part of its strategy to influence longer-term behaviour change on the estate. This also produced opportunities to engage with the wider community, including parents, carers, and grandparents. An evaluation of its activities showed that underage drinking was reduced, there were improvements in the health and well-being of residents, and a real sense of community was created in the area. School staff at Ridge Community Primary School noted significant changes amongst some challenging young people following the education programs delivered by the CAP, particularly around alcohol and anger management sessions. As we move into the secondary school engagement, we offer the Alcohol Education Trust Talk About Alcohol program across all our CAPs. This highly regarded resource comes in a hard copy and in a digital download, and has a series of lesson plans and BAFTA award-winning videos. I usually term it as a one-stop shop for anything a teacher would need for alcohol education. Importantly, it has been thoroughly evaluated and received a top impact score of 3 out of 3 for the effectiveness of the program. The 2-year evaluation followed 4,000 pupils in 30 schools over 2 years. Bringing effective education to young people often calls for an innovative approach. In this example, we partnered Police Scotland with ScotRail and the British Transport Police to deliver alcohol education sessions on board a train travelling between Dalmeny Station and Waverley Station in Edinburgh. As well as learning on the train, follow-up work was completed afterwards at school. Drama performances are also a really powerful way of getting messages across. In the left-hand side picture, we see a group of young performers acting out scenes relating to domestic violence and its implications within the family. This drama was performed at Airedale Academy in Castleford and also turned into a film called The Sound of Silence. This was uploaded onto social media, where it received thousands of views. In the center picture, you can see how a group of young people are pressurizing an individual to take a drink when she clearly does not wish to do so. We also use the highly impactful Smashed program across CAPs. There's a taster of this in this right-hand side image. You'll be hearing more about this later. We know that unsupervised drinking does happen in spite of our best efforts, and the consequences can be extremely serious for youngsters who may be at risk of alcohol poisoning, accidents, and injuries. The British Red Cross offers resources to teach young people about alcohol and first aid. In our Orkney CAP, partners brought in a local paramedic to deliver this session. This was extremely well received by students in Stromness Academy, and there are plans to repeat it. Peer mentoring is a really powerful way to involve and empower young people. CAP promotes the Royal Society for Public Health's Young Health Champions Award, which provides 14 to 16-year-olds with a level 2 qualification equivalent to a GCSE and the skills to mentor their peers on alcohol issues. This qualification can be taken at a speed conducive to the young person and involves the completion of a number of workbooks. Although traditionally used in a school setting, as seen here on the right in Hastings CAP, we have pioneered its use in community settings such as youth and sports clubs. During COVID, CAP piloted an online version of the Young Health Champions programme. So now the qualification is available to complete face-to-face or online. We've also combined the Young Health Champions qualification with the role of CAP ambassadors, who are invited to support teachers in developing lesson plans and give assembly talks to students or otherwise help to promote healthy lifestyles. Here on the left, we see Mary Craig MP alongside the head teacher of Outwood Academy, City Fields in Wakefield, awarding a CAP ambassador with her certificate and lapel badge. DrinkAware produces some excellent resources, and we ensure that our partners know about them and use them in a wide variety of ways. Here you see their resource, Risks Associated with Underage Drinking. Yes, this could be put up as a poster on a notice board, but our partners have used their imaginations, putting it on display screens or on a computer as a screensaver, or on the back of toilet doors, or on lunch trays as a liner, or as placemats on a table, or indeed in shopping baskets in off-licenses. We also promote DrinkAware's parent leaflets and videos and encourage schools to disseminate them via parent mail communications and at parent-teacher evenings. We've used a wide range of QR codes linked to videos produced by the Alcohol Education Trust, the BBC Learning Zone, and other reputable authorities covering topics such as body image, peer pressure, mental health, and so on, which we've used to good effect in outdoor spaces and indoor venues. In this picture, you see Tom Pursglove MP for Corby and the Corby Borough Council Senior Neighbourhood Manager putting QR codes up in an area locally known as a place where young people gather to drink. They've also been really effective in parkland areas. We would evaluate their effectiveness either by monitoring the number of calls to police or by tracking the number of views for each QR code. Henry Maybury is a singer-songwriter who lost his brother through alcohol misuse and now brings his testimony and his song Lost Days to schools, youth clubs and prisons. His performances are powerful and emotive. Schools and colleges where he has performed regularly ask that he return to give his cautionary tale to a new year group of students. There are numerous ways of engaging young people on the subject of alcohol awareness, and YouTubers have huge popular appeal. You may recognize the person on the right as Joe Sugg with his friend Casper Lee. Joe appeared on Strictly Come Dancing a few years ago. Both Joe and Casper are prolific YouTube video creators. In this video, they talk about how alcohol isn't a rite of passage, that young people should have the courage to say no if they are pressurized to drink, and that by leading a healthy and positive lifestyle, it's the way to achieve many things. This video has been incorporated into classroom time discussions as part of PSHE lessons or shown during assemblies. I'd like to play you a short section of this now.
Younger. Luckily, I grew up around a load of guys who were really into sport.
The rugby lads!
Yeah, growing up through school, I hung out with the rugby lads, and obviously they're really into their rugby, so they didn't smoke. They were all about like healthy eating, fitness, and that kind of stuff. So, and to me, they were the coolest group in school. Whenever I got offered cigarettes, it was very easy to say no. I kind of feel like in today's society, there's a minority of the people that smoke. Nowadays, there's so much promotion for like healthy eating. And
it's cool to be clean. Alcohol is a whole different story, I guess. When you're younger, sometimes you start drinking for the wrong reasons. And obviously, you shouldn't be drinking at a young age, but I know it happens. But I think the thing is to be doing it on your own terms and not because you feel that you need to.
These kind of things, it's never a case of, oh, I want to stick with the crowd, do you know what I mean? I think nowadays, it's so much more important and more respected if you stick to what you believe in, and if you're not ready to try these kind of things, then that's fine. And if someone judges you for that, then that's their problem. That should not affect you in the slightest.
And it's not a rite of passage.
It's not a rite of passage. You don't have to do all these things.
In northwest Edinburgh, CAP joined with Police Scotland to purchase goal nets and football kits for the Gateside Community Hub. This hub is in an extremely deprived area and suffers antisocial behaviour and underage drinking linked to a lack of positive activities for young people. Of course, there will be in every community certain young people who always seem to be present when antisocial behaviour is being committed. Some of the funding provided by CAP is available to support rewards for changes in behaviour. Here in Nottinghamshire, on the right of this slide, is a group of young people having undertaken a series of alcohol awareness sessions and demonstrated a change of attitude and behaviour. Enjoy a session at an outdoor activity centre. Sometimes antisocial behaviour escalates and specific police operations need to be put in place. This occurred in a particular area of Edinburgh last November, where large-scale criminal damage, young people openly drinking, and a significant amount of antisocial behaviour occurred. As part of this response, CAP funded the Scran van, on the bottom right of the slide, to engage with young people and give them a non-alcoholic drink and a hot dog at times when peak levels of antisocial behaviour were anticipated. This simple act was particularly effective, and police officers found themselves able to engage more effectively with young people on the street and diffuse any issues at an early stage. PC Lauren Mitchell told us, "The event was fantastic and really attracted a crowd. Even the cool kids came down and engaged. They were spoken to about alcohol awareness by Anya and I, and willingly showed us their pockets to show that they didn't have any. The event was so successful that we actually ran out of food." As we now move on to college and university life, different pressures become evident. CAP partners will engage with members of the student unions, especially welfare, as well as with on-site alcohol retailers, including the on-trade. The messaging will focus on sticking to the drinking guidelines, getting home safely, and generally keeping safe. Women's safety and drink spiking are very much in the spotlight, and those issues will be covered in the action plans for the 18 to 25s. In our Cardiff CAP, which has at its heart the large university population, students Laila Latif Khan and Alexandra Banas created the resources on this slide based on a series of student focus groups. Animations based around the themes have also been created for use on social media. All resources are available in English and Welsh, with print copies and digital versions available to be used freely by all local universities. The project was supported by Cardiff Local Authority Public Health and CAP. CAP members regularly go out to talk to the community, raising awareness about the dangers of alcohol misuse and issues where alcohol is a contributory factor. We use the CAP Spider Dome as an eye-catching base for community events. In Bradford, partners came together at the Dickensian event that is held every year. Here you can see Mickey Mouse riding a smoothie bike. Young people can make their own smoothie or mocktail by putting a little effort into pedaling the static bike with a mixer on the back. Often, there is the opportunity to bring all partners together in a large venue. This is Waverley Station in Edinburgh, where partners came together to highlight different aspects of alcohol risk. We were particularly thankful to Waverley Station managers in allowing us to put eye-catching CAP graphics on their display screens for a 2-week period. CAP posters contain straightforward and direct messages, and often warn against proxy purchase when adults, including parents, buy alcohol on behalf of young people. However, where there are concerns about combined alcohol and drug use, it makes sense to incorporate education on those issues too, as you can see in the poster on the right-hand side, which includes images of nitrous oxide canisters. Challenge 25 has been extremely successful in deterring underage sales. Thanks to CAP, these posters are now available in a range of different languages, including Latvian, Lithuanian, Polish, Romanian, and Russian. Engaging with major supermarkets is also key to getting messages on proxy purchasing out to the community. In this picture, young people are speaking with the store manager of Sainsbury's before using temporary chalk-based paint to stencil a warning message under the entrance canopy. The stencil simply says, "Buying alcohol for an under 18s, it's an offence." We shouldn't forget that in some of our military establishments, there are young people of the same age as those in our secondary schools and colleges. And by asking them to assist us with community education, they are, at the same time, being educated themselves. Here are soldiers based in Catterick Garrison, applying our trademark proxy warning stencil. Finally, it would seem only right to end with a picture of our keynote speaker today, Police and Crime Commissioner Joy Allen, who, as chair of the partnership in Bishop Auckland, attended local supermarkets who had agreed during Alcohol Awareness Week 2020 to significantly promote their non- and low-alcohol range of drinks. By engaging with supermarkets around the meeting room table, initiatives like this can easily be achieved. Everyone in a CAP wants the best for their young people and for the community. CAP advisors share that same desire. If you'd like one of us to talk through the potential of a CAP in your area, we would be delighted if you got in touch. Thank you for listening.
Thank you very much, Alan, for that. Sort of lots of really different and exciting activities, as you can see, going across CAPs. Our next speaker is Liz Fairhurst. Liz is Chief Executive of Northern Ambition Academies Trust based in Wakefield, and is also a CAP board director. We're extremely grateful to Liz for joining us, especially in the middle of a vaccine rollout. So thank you for being here with us, and please, over to you.
Thank you, Kate. It's very fitting, actually, that I follow on from Alan Simpson, as it's really through Alan that Airedale Academy, which is our secondary school within our trust, became involved in CAP. At the time, as principal, I was keen to be part of CAP and its work, as it fit very well with our PSHE curriculum, which Alan's alluded to already. And in fact, CAP work was extremely pertinent to and supported perfectly main elements within that curriculum of learning. It allowed for targeted support within school and a multi-pronged approach to the reducing the number of pupils drinking and becoming involved in harmful behaviours. We found the CAP team to have a wealth of experience and information. What is particularly valuable is having people within CAP from a variety of different places and organisations. For example, there were people working with us from the local council, community groups, project workers, the police, etc. And it really did give us and our students an insight into what is happening with our young people outside of the school community. If I firstly give you some examples of how we worked with CAP, and then I'll move into more of the impact of that work. And what I hope you'll gain from that, from a school's perspective, the value of becoming involved in a local CAP. And actually, where schools can, they need to be supporting and pushing for the development of a CAP in their local area. It was really valuable to us. The work through CAP meant that we often could find what the needs within our school community were. They did surveys in relation to alcohol awareness, and their needs were identified, so their drinking habits within the community, for example. This then allowed us to mutually decide the best way to involve and engage our young people in alcohol education. And this ensured that the work was then very pupil focused, which is a huge benefit for us. Another activity in terms of CAP work was associating our colleagues and our pupils with other colleagues such as the AET. They were present at parents' evenings. They would come and talk to our pupils. They would come and talk to our parents and carers and really engage with them and try to get some honest feedback around what alcohol use looked like, both in the home and within the community. Through CAP also, collaboration was key and was really purposeful with other local schools in the CAP. So for example, Castleford Academy up the road from us, we did some excellent work with them, and that was both facilitated and encouraged through CAP. Pupils were able to become CAP ambassadors, which Alan's already spoken about, and represent the school on anything to do with CAP, such as proxy sales in local shops in their high vis, which they really enjoyed, supported by CAP advisors, obviously, and also being able to be representative of the school with external people such as Ofsted. Access to external resources and just sources was key for us as well. We had guest speakers coming into the school. We worked with community projects like Smashed, which Alan has spoken about. And during Alcohol Awareness Week, being able to have them in and address pupils, hold assemblies in a really powerful way, which was much more impactful than me speaking to them or their usual teachers delivering the same messages. And actually it opened doors for us and still does open doors for us working with CAP. It allowed, for example, our involvement in projects which would never have come our way if it wasn't for CAP, such as the performance of The Sound of Silence that Alan has spoken about, and actually put our performing arts department here at Airedale Academy on the map. And we won the CAP award in Cardiff in 2019, of which we are very proud. So I could go on and talk for a long, long time about some of the activities that we've done, but that just gives, I hope, a flavour of how a school can become involved with CAP working. So just looking at some of the impact, which sometimes is really difficult to measure, but some of it is measurable, especially in the form of the surveys, which gather the pupil voice around their alcohol habits. Since working with CAP, our surveys show a reduction in not only the amount of alcohol our local community consumes, but also the age that they begin drinking at. And I think through the work with CAP and the involvement with colleagues and others that the pupils have been working with, I think they are actually honest in those surveys. So that does give us some measurable impact. Not so measurable, however, is really quite frankly, the discussions and the conversations we have with our young people. And in a recent meeting that I held with some students over at Airedale Academy, with a view to being able to talk about this today, they've worked with CAP for some time, and they all said that the work with CAP has given them the tools and the information they needed in order to make informed choices around alcohol. And they said such things as it was done in a fun way, rather than just being boring, it was fun, even though it was educational. I've put a few quotes up there. One young lady even spoke to me about, she's found herself in a situation at a party, lots of people drinking, and she's actually remembered some of the messages from CAP and some of the work that she'd done with CAP made her think twice, which I thought was really powerful. And then they have never forgotten the visit from Henry. Alan spoke about Henry and coming and singing and telling his story, and they really found Henry amazing, as I think their words were, but he was certainly inspirational to the staff as well. So for us, next steps, although everything has lost a little bit of momentum due to the pandemic, we're really looking forward and are really keen and eager to get that ball rolling again in our work with CAP. And really, it's about taking it trust-wide for us. We have 1 secondary school, 3 primaries, and it's around more age-appropriate involvement of our primary children. And Alan and I, pre-COVID, had started to talk about how we were going to do that. So that's the next steps for us, and I'm really looking forward to doing that. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much for that, Liz. That was really insightful, and what an outstanding set of schools you head up. So many different educational initiatives, and really great to hear that the messages really have landed with your young people. Our next speaker, and you've heard many references to the SMASHED programme. So here we have the Managing Director of Collingwood Learning, who looks after SMASHED, and it's the most amazingly powerful drama programme. And I think that our CAP schools have just enjoyed. They've had a virtual tour this week. So really love to hear a bit more about it. And over to you, Chris.
I'm hoping you can hear me now. Is that right? I'm getting nods. Excellent. My name is Chris Symes, and I'm the Managing Director of Collingwood Learning. And I must say, I'm really proud to be welcomed onto this conference, and also to already hear about SMASHED from others who have had it in schools, which is really, really exciting. I'm actually here to talk to you about a major development that we have had with the SMASHED project since COVID. But I also want to take this opportunity just to sort of guide you through, for those who don't know, what SMASHED is. But then I will move you on to some of the latest developments. So just a little bit about Collingwood Learning. We were founded in 2009, and actually 2009 was the day I sat down and wrote the SMASHED project on my sofa. Little did I know the scale of what was to come, and I'm constantly bewildered by that, but it's all great. So Collingwood essentially are an organisation. We're based in Yorkshire, and we're passionate about the idea that young people learn essentially through storytelling, and indeed adults also learn through storytelling. And it's a great way of enabling us to actually impart some quite complex information to young people in a particularly powerful way that they will identify with and become emotionally engaged with, and want to give an opinion on, and think about alternative solutions. And so SMASHED, which, as I say, it has had a few iterations, but I wrote the latest version in 2009, and obviously it's been developed to meet a global need for effective alcohol education in schools. And as I've said, it uses powerful storytelling and theatre to help young people understand some of the situations they might find themselves in, and then actually explore and develop in a very human way the safe choices they might make around alcohol. And really that's the crux of it, is actually enabling young people to actually visualize certain situations in which they might have in their lives, and understand that they actually have a choice, and that they have the opportunity to actually make safe, positive decisions around their health, and that they shouldn't be unnecessarily influenced by some of the social dynamics that go on around them. So, as I was saying, there's been a significant development with SMASHED. Obviously, we have toured live for many years, which is a live theatre and education programme going into schools, which I'll provide an overview for. But obviously, when COVID happened, we had developed a very rough and ready version of SMASHED Online, essentially an e-learning version of the live stage play. And we put that out to some schools in lockdown, and we watched the figures tick up and up and up, and 6,000 students completed it within a matter of weeks, which turned into 24,000 students, months later. And we realised that we really needed to actually provide a long-term really slick version of Smashed Online, and that's what I'm delighted to share with you today. So there are two versions of Smashed, Smashed Live and Online. And just to give you a sense of the scale, and this is what bewilders me considerably, is we actually, the success of it in the UK has meant that it's actually been adapted and developed around the world in multiple languages and as diverse countries as Colombia to Australia, Taiwan, Cambodia, Nigeria, and Italy, Hungary, the list goes on. So we've reached over 1.5 million young people, usually in the sort of key stage 3 bracket. It's in over 30 countries now, both live or online, and there's over 1,000 performances of the play annually. And I've been lucky enough to stand in schoolyards in Brazil and Mozambique, watching young people enjoy it, just in the same way as they would in a school hall in the UK. Significantly, Smashed Online will be in 16 countries by May 2022. We are literally producing it as quickly as is humanly possible for all of the different partners around the world, which is incredibly exciting. So just to give you a quick overview of Smashed Live, if you don't know about it, Smashed Live is a live theatre performance that tells the stories of 3 young people and their experiences of alcohol. And it culminates in a drunken accident when the female character is actually injured as a result of a fight between 2 lads that she's friends with. And we deliver it in the form of live tours across the UK, you know, reaching thousands of young people a week. And we work very closely with CAPS to try and ensure that we're putting the live version in front of as many young people who are in areas of highest need, or where Smashed plugs in with a whole range of wider activities that the CAP is delivering, which is just absolutely fantastic. And it's actually, you know, the critical element of the learning isn't actually the performance, I don't believe. It's actually about enabling young people then to actually explore the issues and consolidate the learning for themselves using various techniques that we use in the workshop. And that's critical. So actually they look at what they've seen and actually say, well, what alternatives were available to those characters at that time? What did they know? What didn't they know? What would I do differently? And that's really, really critical. So most importantly, it's about developing techniques for resisting peer pressure and making safe choices. So on to Smashed Online. As I say, COVID happened. We trialed a version of Smashed in the UK, which was incredibly successful. And so now we have developed the new version of Smashed Online. And it is a cinematic quality film, and it explores young people's experience of alcohol in the same way as the live version does. And obviously around the world where we have the program, it's culturally and linguistically adapted and filmed in each country. So each country has its own version. And obviously what this is about is creating a different sort of journey for a young person, in the sense that they might be participating individually or as part of a group, but actually it allows for them to participate in exploring the decisions the characters made, but also exploring and interacting with those characters, as I'm about to show you. So I'm just going to play you a very short highlights package, really, of Smashed Online, that will give you a real idea of the experience we want young people to have with it.
It's not like I have all the answers. Sometimes, when you get a chance to go right into a story, to make choices, and even speak to characters that are a lot like you and your friends, you start to care about what's happening. Arguing with your friends about what the characters should do, talking about stuff you recognise, situations you might have seen and tried to get out of, mates you've tried to help. When that happens, it changes your ideas. It makes you think about your own choices, your own life, your own friends. And even sometimes how your friends can make you do things you don't want to do. And when you think about all that, well, It kind of feels good. It can help you handle things, make better decisions. I spent time with those characters and I thought, what would I do differently?
So as you may have seen from the sort of highlights package there, is that, you know, we've tried to make it as interactive as possible. So there's a range of ways in which the young people can then engage as interactively as possible with the topic, including these quite incredible sort of virtual conversations that they can have as if they're having a messenger call with the characters, where they can choose questions that they want to ask them. And then we filmed, I think, 103 different responses from the actors to actually tailor it so the young person feels like they're actually having a conversation with them, which is, and advising them on what they should do. So it's a really clever approach that our e-learning partners work with us on. One of the things I just want to say really importantly is that whilst we were in lockdown, it was a fantastic resource because teachers could just send the link to students to complete at home. But what we also learned very quickly was that actually when teachers came back, they actually wanted to teach it in a classroom environment. And that was really great because, you know, the resource is something that teachers can easily capitalize on and widen those sort of conversations. And I think we've heard already is how linked alcohol is to a range of other sort of social development issues for young people. So what's been fantastic is we've now added a classroom delivery mechanism for teachers. So a teacher can stand up with it on an interactive whiteboard or projector and deliver it and work through it with a whole class, which is proving to be really successful as well. So that's a real development for us. Just very briefly, we always want to sort of emphasize the impact that Smash makes. And I think here, you know, this illustrates it very well in that whether it's live online, we're achieving some really great impacts for young people, which, as I'm sure you'll see, can, you know, really plug into the wider work that CAPS are doing that we're so delighted to support. And you know, it's a great starting point for actually getting young people to really sit up and take notice of underage drinking as an issue and start thinking about the choices that they have. And strangely, I mean, obviously we get some fantastic feedback from teachers, but for me, actually, strangely enough, the lowest result is probably the most significant one for me. And again, this ties into what our previous speaker was talking about, was actually after Smash, 87% of teachers feel more confident talking to young people about alcohol. And for me, that's kind of the winning one, because what we want to do with Smashed is create a culture within schools where actually there's a really strong frame of reference and a real strong identifier, you know, where young people can really identify with the characters. And actually they want to continue that conversation. They want to actually think about the issues that it's raised for them. And obviously in this case, you know, it's an enabler for teachers. It's not a replacement. So, you know, we're absolutely thrilled with that. So the future, well, we're delighted to say that Smashed Live will be back in real school halls from January. We have literally did our email to schools a couple of weeks ago, and it is booking out. And obviously it's wonderful because schools are so delighted to be able to have it back live. And we will be working with about 250 schools this year, and hopefully we'll reach 50,000 year 7 and 8 students, which is, you know, again, just really fantastic. And a lot of that is down to, as I've already said, the community alcohol partnerships that we have relationships with, and their ability to help drive it into schools. And again, plug in with the range of other activities that community alcohol partnerships bring to a particular school and that community. And the critical thing I must also point out, which is very important, is that Smashed Online is free and to use anywhere by anyone in the UK. So if there are teachers, schools, anybody on this call who is keen to use it, all you have to do is go on to the smashproject.org, and you will find a big pink button that says Smashed Online. And you can click on that, sign up as a teacher, or send the link on to students to complete. So do have a good look at it, and we'd love you to use it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Chris. That was just amazing. I mean, it is the most wonderful program, and the way that you've adapted, used COVID to adapt it so that it it still contains those interactive elements online, and fascinating also to hear the feedback from teachers, of it as an enabler for ongoing discussions. That's really, really interesting. So yeah, big thumbs up on that from all of our caps really, who absolutely love the programme. Our next speaker will be known to those of you who attended our annual conference earlier this year. Roxanne Frost is the Youth Services Manager for Tunbridge Wells, Tunbridge and Malling, and won our award for Outstanding Achievement in 2020 for her highly innovative approach to youth outreach in our Kent CAPs. So we're delighted to have you with us, Roxanne, and really looking forward to hearing more.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. I'm hoping my internet connection is okay. It is a little unstable, so I do hope that it picks up. It's great to be here today to talk to you about some of the work we do in partnership with young people and the CAPs both in Tunbridge and Malling and Tunbridge Wells in Kent. As part of that offer, we do offer free open access, free of charge open access youth services across the districts for 8 to 19-year-olds, and these come in many forms. So we have a mixture of clubs that run in buildings in the community, street-based work where we hold youth clubs in parks in the communities where we do not have building access, and workshops within schools. We also run detached and outreach work as a result of multi-agency working, where we respond to locations that have been reported to have antisocial behaviour, including underage drinking and substance misuse. We usually spend a period of around 6 weeks in all the young people that we meet along the way. We aim to build positive engagement with those young people and establish what it is they feel they would benefit from in their community. Sometimes this is a youth club, which then we would support them to set up, but sometimes this is just to meet basic needs, share specific information on subjects and problems that they may be experiencing, or signpost them to services that they feel would benefit them and they can support from. The aim of the work is to provide safe spaces for young people to access no matter their personal, financial, family, educational or any other situation. And as part of that, we do currently run 7 different youth projects in 4 areas of the Tunbridge and Malling district in Kent, 6 youth projects in 4 different areas of the Tunbridge Wells district in Kent, and schools work. A huge element of the work that we do is ensuring that young people have a voice in all matters that affect them and involve them. And as a result of that, our services are governed by their opinions and ideas. A specific project does come to mind when I think about the work that Sailors have done with promoting positive activities with young people in partnership with the CAP. Back in 2019, we worked on the streets in Snodland, engaging with groups of young people that were involved in bike antisocial behaviour and underage drinking. We began our engagement with these young people and learnt very quickly that the majority believed that they were involved in this behaviour as they had nowhere to ride their bikes and felt extremely disjointed from their community. It was at this point that we partnered up with Community Cycle Works to run a hybrid youth club work session and bike session for these young people. And so the Snodland Bike Club was born. The next 3 years involved weekly sessions of learning bike tricks safely, bike maintenance, information and honest conversations around underage drinking and the consequences of this, and most of all, building a positive rapport with young people in the bike riding community. This group also spent endless hours planning for a bike pump track to be built in their community to feel that they had a place that was theirs. And last year, the funding was granted for this project. And it is with great pleasure that I can say that the pump track is due to be built in Snodland in spring 2022. And in addition to this, and I think more importantly, reports of bike antisocial behaviour and underage drinking has reduced since 2019 and these projects being live. When the COVID pandemic hit in 2020, the dreaded COVID pandemic, we were forced to act quick to transform the way we worked, to follow government guidelines and to ensure that we were still as accessible as possible to young people that not only access our services already, but also to be a support for those young people that had previously not been involved with services, but found they needed a bit of extra support during this period. During the first week of club closures, we had consulted with all young people that we knew via social media and phone calls to see how they felt that we could best support them. And it was evident that the majority of young people were open to online youth clubs, as well as open online drop-in sessions that provided entertainment and skill building. By the end of that week, myself and my team had designed a timetable of activities, booking forms that could be completed online, and had promoted this to all young people and families that we were already engaged with, and to all agencies and partners to share with their contacts and families that they felt would benefit from this service. This was also promoted on social media pages for new young people and families to engage with. And the timetable was a variety, and I mean variety, of drop-in sessions for young people, around 20 to 30 minutes at a time. Drop-in activities were a range of things from themed quizzes, drawing competitions, arts and crafts, baking sessions, cooking lessons, origami, sign language, boxing, fitness classes, TikTok dances, bike mechanic sessions, and information on any problems that young people were going through at the time. As a wider Sailors team, we put all of our resources together and as a youth service, and partnered up with our Folkestone, Hythe and Maidstone and Shepway districts in Kent as well. And we offered all of these sessions to all families and young people across the county. It was completely free of charge, and over the following months of lockdown, we supported young people to then deliver their own sessions to other young people when they felt confident to. We worked with hundreds of young people in this time and met lots of new young people that we hadn't previously engaged with before. We then adapted these sessions and times of sessions to cater to young people when they started going back to school. And we found that we worked very well with a hybrid of online sessions and invite face-to-face sessions. We offered the online sessions for those young people that felt that they weren't ready to engage face-to-face, or there was some young people that were in the county where we didn't work specifically in their district. The face-to-face sessions had COVID restrictions still and ran outside with inviting young people to each week and alternating this so that young people had the opportunity to engage. As we found ourselves slowly returning more and more to face-to-face youth services, our online services began to slowly end, and we found ourselves returning more to normality, with all of our youth services being back to face-to-face and the majority in buildings again. Of course, we still have our challenges with ensuring that we are abiding to any restrictions still laid out, but the youth sessions are so well attended and the feedback from young people is very positive. We still work very closely with the CAPs in our areas, and currently we are working on the social enterprise projects in both districts for young people. This is where the young people will form groups, create a business plan, event or project idea for their community and other young people in their community that is aimed to reduce underage drinking or have information of the effects of underage drinking and alcohol. It was an absolute honour to be nominated, let alone win the CAP Award for Outstanding Achievement and Innovation in 2021. And although we are unsure of how the future looks, I know that Sailors and other youth services will continue to offer services to young people in any way, shape or form that we're able to. So thank you for having me here today, and thanks for listening.
Thank you so much, Roxanne. You really are inspirational, I have to say. I mean, and I love the way that you are so sort of youth-led, you know, how much you consult and listen and really responding to what the young people themselves need. And I have to say, whenever I see your online programs, you know, during those dark COVID days, I wished I was young enough to participate. It really is an exciting range of things that you offer. So thank you so much for being with us. We're now going to be taking a very short comfort break while we bring on our retail online panel. So we'll be sort of going away for a few minutes, but please do take a drink, come back, and we've got a great range of speakers lined up. We're going to have Hardish Purewell, who is the licensing manager from Tesco and chair of the Retail of Alcohol Standards Group, who will be joined by James Lohman, who's chief exec of the Association of Convenience Stores, and also Neil Eckel, who's the senior licensing manager from ASDA. So hopefully they will together give us an insight of, why retail is so important to CAPS, and you'll also be able to ask them anything you want. And we'll then end with a question and answer session. So do come back, just take a few minutes to grab a drink, and we'll see you in a few minutes.
Welcome everybody to this this final part of the session, where you get an opportunity to quiz some of the guys that sit on the CAP board, and also ask some questions around how retail are involved in CAP. Can I just introduce you all to Gillian, who will be working in the background, look at bringing in your questions that that you have to ask. So keep them coming in, and Gillian will send them through to us. So in terms of how retail are involved in CAP, community alcohol partnerships came from the Retail Alcohol Standards Group, where we were looking at ways of how we could work in partnership with and actually look at ways that we could support groups in local areas in terms of underage drinking, because very much we were feeling a part of it. We were seeing some of it going on outside of our stores, and didn't really know the best approach to take. So from the Retail Alcohol Group, we CAP kind of came about, and I was lucky enough to be involved with community alcohol partnerships right from the start, back in 2007, when it was piloted in St Neots. And really from then it's gone to strength to strength. So retail's always been an important part of a community alcohol partnerships, and we feel absolutely privileged to be a part of it. So I kind of wear three hats. So I work as a licensing manager for Tesco's. I chair the Retail Alcohol Standards Group, and I'm also a CAP board director. So thoroughly invested and into CAP. Could I also introduce you to Neil Eccles from ASDA? Neil, would you like to say a few words?
As Hardy said, my name's Neil Eccles. I work at ASDA. I've been for 27 years, a long time in ASDA. I've been involved in RASC and CAP for a number of years now. ASDA's always been a supporter of CAP from the very beginning of its inception, a long time ago. As Hardy said, highly invested in it too. I look after licensing in ASDA, and I'm also a non-executive board member on CAP as well. Hand over to James from ACS. James, just tell you who you are.
Great. Thanks very much, Neil. I'm James Lohman. I'm Chief Executive of the Association of Convenience Stores and long-standing director of CAP. ACS was involved in setting up CAP at the very start, and it is by a distance the biggest industry initiative in terms of our investment of time and money in it, which probably tells you a bit about how important we think it is as a scheme. So looking forward to taking any questions and taking part in this event.
Thank you. So Gillian, do we have, keep your questions coming in thick and fast. So Gillian, do we have any?
We have one question so far, which I'm just going to bring out. The question is, it's about proxy sales. So what do you look out for in how to identify potential proxy sales?
Oh, great question. I guess actually the difference between large stores and small stores, we're going to be handling it slightly different. So James, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, thanks, Holly. It is a great question. It's not an easy answer. We've got very good in our sector at challenging for the proof of age of people purchasing products, but it's quite hard when you're not actually seeing potentially the end user of that product coming into the store. Some of the things that we can do and we can look for, obviously where people are coming back in a number of times in a short period of time, that might indicate that they're going outside and either and engaging with people outside who might be underage to buy products on their behalf. Where people are coming in with the exact money, that's often a bit of a red flag, that they might have got a specific order for a specific amount and taken the money off someone, so they're not dealing with change themselves and things like that. And other than that, it's the general behaviour around the store. So if you do see groups together and then 3 people leave the store and 1 person goes to the counter, or you're seeing activity in groups outside the store and then one of them comes in, those can be indicators. But it is really important to say it's the toughest nut to crack, because we can only have control over so much, and if that person is old enough to buy, it's very much harder to tell. But CAP's been brilliant at bringing together the focus on this, and I know that Hardish with RAS, we produced information for retailers with some of these tips and other things and ways of trying to recognise and prevent proxy sales. But I don't pretend it's an easy issue to tackle, but one I think we're making progress on.
Thank you, James. And Neil, is there anything you wanted to add?
Yeah, just to support what James said, it's actually quite difficult to control in large stores, because if something takes place out of sight in the car park, you don't really see it for yourself. However, we do look out for things like groups of youths coming in together, where we ask for ID from the whole group, not just one person buying the alcohol. And we do challenge people to say, is this for you or is it for all your friends at the same time too? Yep. We encourage and train our colleagues to look out for people in the aisle asking, saying, can I have this today, mum? Or can I have this today, please, somebody else? Handing over money in the shop floor, or asking people to buy things for them. And our colleagues on the whole shop floor, not just at checkout, so we're all trained to refer that back to the front end to make sure that our colleagues see it when they get there. And we challenge every person who we believe is buying alcohol for minors. It's important that we do that every single time.
Thank you. Yes.
Hardish, no?
Yeah, absolutely agree with all of that. I guess sometimes in the smaller stores, it's easier to look out for, because somebody comes in, wants a product, or kids come in, you challenge the kids, and then a few minutes later an adult comes in. So sometimes we'll get our cashiers kind of challenge that adult to make sure it's not for the children that are kind of out that have been refused in the store. And I guess it exactly as you said, just keeping an eye out on what's going on outside the store as well as in. So if money's being exchanged in the store, you can sometimes see that that's happening, but actually children get clever and clever and move further away from the store. So absolutely agree, it's quite difficult to manage sometimes, but you know, we're on it, you know, we're all on it, all of the retailers are on it. Gillian, any other questions?
Yeah, we've got 3 questions lined up. So the next one that came in that says, have you seen any trends in attempted alcohol purchases by minors?
Thank you. Neil, do you want to take that one first?
Yeah, I can do. We haven't seen, in fact, we've probably seen a decrease in people trying to buy alcohol that are minors than minutes. Since COVID-19, there's been a lot less people out at night time and on their own in the weekends. It's been quite good for us. It's been much easier for us to handle it, to be fair. So I think that generally, Jill, there's been a lot less people trying it on, for a better word. Obviously, that won't last forever, and we'll be looking at on our safest, on our guard, to make sure that doesn't become an issue in the future. But I think it's personally gone down. I don't know what you think, James. Anything from your end?
Yeah, so I think that's true. I think there are 2 bits of really good news, actually. One is that prevalence of underage people drinking has been declining for a period of time. Still nothing, so there's still a job to do, but that has been declining for a period of time. And the COVID experience, as Neil says, has made that less prevalent again. So to some extent, you'd say, well, look, you know, things are going in the right direction. Isn't that good news? Which I think it is. Thinking from the point of view of our members and their colleagues, there is a real problem, which is that the gap between a trigger, if you like, for violence and abuse in store and that activity taking place seems to be getting shorter and shorter now. We see the biggest trigger being shop theft and intervening around the shop theft, and that being a trigger for violence and abuse. But also challenging for proof of age can be a trigger for that sort of behaviour, and that sort of behaviour now more likely to be accompanied by more severe and more immediately strong abuse or even violence, and even more likely to involve a weapon either threatened or even in the worst cases being used. So I think we've made massive progress, actually. So generally, actually, this is a good news story in this area, but I don't want to gloss over it, because there still are regrettably still some very serious incidents where we see members and colleagues being threatened or being the victims of violence because of challenging for proof of age.
Yeah, thank you. Absolutely agree. I think just because we're seeing the downward trend in minors kind of in our stores or trying to buy alcohol in our stores doesn't mean that the problem's gone away. And sometimes it, you know, we've got to now find where is that issue so that we can, and if that's proxy, whatever it is, you know, so we can do some more work around it. Gillian, have you got another question? I'm just conscious of time as well.
Absolutely. Rowley from Scarborough Police has asked, would retailers be able to offer diversionary activities to young people?
Who wants to take that one?
Yeah, I go on, you go first.
You go.
Well, I'll say to us, I think all I can speak on behalf of Asda, obviously, but I'll speak on behalf of all retailers in RASC too. All retailers are really, really committed to CAPs to make sure that they work in our stores in our area. I think we can play some parts in it, but I don't think we can do a lot of things like diversion activities. Our stores are really set up to be hubs of information, space where we can provide training for people in the area, local areas, local shops, etc. And we can get some customer information out quite easily, yeah, to try and get some sort of central hub of activity in the area and the community itself. For us to actually hold diversionary tactics is quite a difficult one to do, yeah. So we might be able to be a site for some activity potentially if you have extra space in the stores. But I know bigger stores have that space, smaller stores don't have that space, and I'll let James speak to that in a second. But in terms of the responsibility for running them, I don't think we will be able to do that because of all kind of different DBS checks and it's qualifications you have to look after your own kids at the minute. So if you want to speak to us about using space, please talk to us about it. We can do that with you, no problem at all. James, anything on for smaller stores?
Yeah, so convenience stores in any case have a very good record of, for example, sponsoring local kids sports teams, sponsoring school activities and those things, but not necessarily devised as being diversionary activity for related to alcohol issues, but for just introducing those sorts of things as part of promoting the business, part of supporting the local community. But in terms of that more specific diversionary activity relating to alcohol issues, that's exactly where CAP comes in for us. It'd be hard, I mean, it does happen, but it'd be hard for a local independent convenience store to pull together the local secondary school, the police, training standards, other retailers locally on their own. Really difficult to do that if you're a small business. But working with a community alcohol partnership, you can bring those people together, and that's where you can get really powerful diversionary activities happening, which our members can play a full part in. So I see diversionary activity as being an absolutely key part of many of the CAPs that are in place, and CAP is a thing which allows our members to get more involved in those projects than otherwise they may have been able to. So I think it's a win for everyone where those things can work, and exactly why we're part of CAP.
And I guess just to add to that is, you know, even though we may not be able to offer diversionary activities directly, there are things, we have community boards to advertise some of this. You know, we can use the footfall in our stores for any surveys or any communication that needs to kind of go out into the local community. So there will be things that we can do to kind of support maybe in the background some of the diversionary activities if we can't run them ourselves. Gillian, have you got another question, Gillian?
Yeah, I think this one will be quite a good final one actually, which has come through from Tessa from Reading. She says, fingers crossed the annual retailer conference is taking place in Reading this week. What would your #1 current piece of advice be for licensed retailers right now?
Okay, shall I jump in there? Is that all right? I think there's any number of things. No, I think it's almost the simplest thing. Challenge 25, and I know just because it's not a new thing doesn't mean it's not a really important thing. And in my opinion, for a retailer, 80% of the issues you're going to face with licenses, you're going to face with selling other restricted products, you're going to face in terms of the area around your store and antisocial behavior and those issues. 80% of that is about, and solving that is about having a really strong Challenge 25 policy and implementing that every time, making sure that people locally know you are implementing that policy every time. And that, to my mind, is the way that you that you really start to cut off some of those problems and reduce some of those problems. So yeah, it's like a simple message, not a new message, but I think it's the most important one, which is challenge 25 for every single sale of every single age-related product.
I've got three points from license objective, if you can, Gillian, please. The first thing is challenge 25 POS. RASC, the Resale of Alcohol Standards Group, give POS out free of charge. Our designs, as you can print yourself in store. Make sure your POS is up there for people to see it. It's a deterrent, number one. Yeah. Number two, from a licensing perspective, you have licensing conditions on your license. Please make sure you check them, test them, make sure your license holders are checking their conditions on the license to make sure they are following their conditions and obligations under law. Third thing for me is make sure you do your training. James is right. Challenge 25 is the most important thing you can do. And whether you do that every single year or 6 months or whatever you have to do for your store, do it religiously and get the message: no ID, no sale. Simple as that. That's how I would do them.
Thank you. I don't know whether there's much more that I can actually add to that. So you kind of answered it really well. I think, and hi Tessa as well, I think it's an opportunity also just to tell everyone, especially like CAP's been going a long time in Reading, is what a great job every license holder is doing, because it's all very easy to kind of focus on how we don't get it right all the time, but actually most of the time retailers do get it right. All of the shops do get it right, and it's just to congratulate the great progress that everybody's made in each of the areas. I hope that was a nice question to end on. Thank you, Tessa. Gillian, back over to you.
Yeah, we're running out of time now. That was all we've got time for, but we've had some more questions through. So what I'm going to do is make sure that we record them down and that we will provide answers. I'll ask the retailers so that we can provide answers at a later date.
Yeah, thank you. Kate, can I hand back to you then now?
Thank you very much, Hardish, Neil and James. That was a really excellent, really excellent insights into, what you do within CAPS and the really, really important role you play in keeping young people safe from alcohol harm. We're almost at the end of our time, so I just wanted to really thank everybody who has participated in this seminar, and also all those who've joined us today. We've had a very big number of people joining us. I'd also like to thank Gillian, who organised the whole event. So thank you very much, Gillian. So hopefully everybody's got some really good insights into how CAPs operate. If anybody wants to know, how to set up a CAP, if you don't already have one, we'd be really delighted to talk to you. So do get in touch. And I'd like to, hope that you stay well, and we will have as a recording if anybody would like to watch it on demand or share it with colleagues. So thank you so much for attending.